Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network invite you to discover your mission. A brand new in-depth monthly video series featuring engaging Catholic speakers who will challenge you to live your life abundantly. For only $25 a month, you will receive a personal monthly mission, including 3 full-length inspirational talks that build upon a new theme each month. Sign up for the Discover Your Mission tier at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry today.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Andy Santis.
Hi, this is Ann DeSantis, and welcome to Journeys in Faith here on this Friday evening. And I have an amazing guest. I have with me Maria Shappert. She is an author and a financial coach, and she's with Perpetual Light Publishing. You can learn about them at perpetuallightpublishing.com. Maria, welcome to Journeys in Faith. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Ann. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure.
Yes, it really is. Now, the reason why Maria is saying having me back is because she was also a guest on the Sowing Hope podcast, our audio podcast with Patchwork Heart Ministry with Bill Snyder and myself. And here she is on this show, which is Fiat Ministry Network. So if you're new here, if this is your first time watching anything on this network, I would ask you to please do like and share Fiat Ministry Network. So why don't we start out with your beginnings, Maria? And I know that we talked about some things that we may discuss on this program. And this one will be telling us about your early life and faith experiences.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm a cradle Catholic, baptized as a baby, growing in my Catholic faith for as long as I can remember. One of the things that sparked my love of books was my parents would read to me bedtime stories about faith every single night. And that's one of the reasons why I got involved in high school. I started, I was a wrong job. Let me think this through. I was a teacher aide. That's what I was going for in high school for 4 years. And I was at my church's PSR, that's Parish School of Religion. And I taught second graders all about catechism, and I taught them how to make their first communion. And that was the thing that really engaged me with my faith. And it was at that point where I realized, I can actually integrate faith with a lot of my writings, because what would happen is I would be in charge of mentoring the kids one-on-one, and I would take them aside during class and help them with whatever they were struggling with, which also helped develop my love of coaching. And there were some concepts in the faith that they would not get. So I would ask them about their interests, and they'd say, oh, I'm into Disney princesses. Oh, I'm into Star Wars. And I would make analogies to like series that they would like. And they would go, oh, that makes sense. And I'd make up these little rhymes and cute little poems. And because that's how I remember things. I remember things by song. And so that's how they would start remembering it. And then when they would recite it to the teacher, they're like, how did you learn that? And they'd be like, Miss Maria taught me that. And I was like, this could be wonderful. I could actually share my faith in the form of writings. So that's one of the things that kicked it off.
Yeah, that's amazing. I enjoyed so much when you were a guest on our podcast, because you talked a lot about that. You talked a lot about those experiences that you had and what led you into writing. And so that will be my next question for you is explain to us then, how did you actually get involved in wanting to be a Catholic author? and your writing experiences.
Yeah, I think the first book I ever wrote, if we're not going off of published works, was when I was 5. My mom said that I had learned to read when I was 3, and I wanted to write my own books. So the first book I ever wrote was called The Cat and the Dog, and it was based off of my then childhood dog, Toby, who's a fluffy white Pomeranian, which the drawing looks nothing like a Pomeranian, but I was 5, and my neighbor's cat, Chelsea. And it was about their adventures in the backyard and how they would have a party together and, all the fun stuff that they would do. And then I started writing a series about myself called the Mia series. That's my nickname. And it was the adventures of her and her best friend Fred and her older sister Katrina and her niece Mary. And that eventually evolved into Catholic writing after I was a teacher aide for PSR. That's also how I got my community service hours. But the benefits of learning that I was a good writer, that came later. I got into Perpetual Light Publishing through a friend of my mom, Jeannie Eagle. And she was actually contacting my mom about pageant coaching for her daughter, because my mom is a pageant coach. She works on like interviews and evening gown walks and everything like that, everything in between. And my mom said, well, my daughter is an author. And she's like, that, because that came up in conversation somehow, that I was an author, or that I had written this book on my phone at one point. And she said, I'm an illustrator. Let's meet up. And so we met at a cafe in Circleville, and I read her this thing that I had written on my phone in October of 2019. And she was like, at the end of it, she was blown away. She was like, if you make this into a book, I want to illustrate it. And she said, we have this new startup. It's called Perpetual Light Publishing. And because we went to the same church as well, we were like mutual friends with somebody else. But she was like, yeah, if you want to make this into a book, I want to illustrate it because I think it has real potential. And so that's when I kind of wove in the good message in the book, where it's like, okay, there's this girl who has a crazy wardrobe, but what's to be learned here? And it's like, oh, she has too much stuff. She learns to give away. She learns to share what she has with others. And I was like, that's a really good message for young Catholics to learn. And that's how I got involved.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember when you talked about that during the podcast, you were talking about like your own bedroom and how that was an inspiration. Can you talk a little bit about that too? And the name of the book so that people are watching if they'd like to purchase it through Amazon or through Perpetual Light Publishing.
Yes, of course. It's called Wendy's Wacky Wardrobe, and it is very true that it started out as a note app on my phone. I was in my bedroom. It was October of 2019, somewhere like, I don't know, before Halloween. And I wanted to write because that's what I do when I'm bored. Didn't know what to write about. But I looked around my room, and I am notorious for being messy. I tend to leave stuff everywhere. I've never been good with cleaning. Clothes in particular. And I saw them lying, across the chair from my desk. And like, there was a big pile at the end of my bed that I needed to sort out. I was like, let's just write about what I find. And so I start writing about, the flannels and the polka dots and the stripes and the socks that don't match because I can't find the other pair. We're always like, where'd the other sock go? And I was like, if I word this, differently, I could make a rhyme out of this. So I was on a roll and I just kept going and going and going. And this was this huge snowball of like a note like that long on my phone. And I went downstairs because like dinner was cooking while this was going on, right? I went downstairs and I was like, Mom, would you like to listen to this thing that I just wrote like 20 minutes ago? She's like, sure. And I'm like, the working title of this is Wendy's Wacky Wardrobe, just because I like alliteration. So I read her this and she's like, we got to go with Jeannie. We got to go with Jeannie. I'm like, who's Jeannie? And then that's how we introduced each other.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story because Jeannie is also doing amazing work. And she's been a guest, not on this show quite yet, but she's been a guest on Sowing Hope. And she sent us also a lot of different Catholic authors for us to interview on the show. And it's been an honor for us to get to know you and to get to know the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really is. So tell us, what do you like most about being an author and about writing? Because you said you like to write when, like you said, when you don't have much to do. It's the fun thing that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of my favorite pastimes. For as long as I can remember, whenever I'm like bored or like I'm upset, or like my earliest forms of writing was when I was journaling, because it was a way for me to do a mind dump. Everything that was on my mind that I either felt like I couldn't express, or that no one would understand, or that I really just needed to say in my own words, I would write in my journal. And so that became kind of like my lead into creative writing, because I have read a lot of poetry, and I'd been journaling for quite some time. And I'm like, I wonder if I could just write a poem about, and then I would find like the most mundane thing. I'd look out the window and I'd write a poem about the blossoms on the trees, which was actually my first poem. It was called Blossoms. And I found that so freeing, because I was able to take something completely simple and make it sound beautiful and give it, a personality. I read my first poem to Mom, and she was like, "You have a gift. Like, why haven't you been doing this more often?" And I'm just like, I don't know why I haven't been doing it more often. It's freeing. There are no really limits to when you write poetry or when you write a book. You're working within your own framework, within your own life stories, and you get to share that with other people, and you get to do it in the most liberating way possible.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And you are a younger person too. You have like a whole career in front of you. And so yeah, and it's incredible to hear. Now, if somebody is watching and maybe they are also a younger person or a person who would like to get involved in being an author, would you
Yeah.
have any little, words of advice possibly for them as they're entering into that career?
Yeah, I would say twofold. The first thing, don't stop writing. That's how the muscle grows, is by repetition. If you need help at all with writing any prompts, or finding them, there are plenty of websites, plenty of writers clubs, circles. Get involved as much as you can. Take inspiration from, other people. Who do you want to emulate, and create your own twist on it? That's a good way to start. Getting published, I would start building your network. Start seeing who you know and then who they know. And you never know who's going to turn up, because that's how I found my publisher. Yeah, so keep writing, stay the course. Nothing is too boring for you to write about. You can write about literally anything. It could be complete nonsense, as long as you keep writing. And see who you know, so that you can get published, because your work is worthy of being published. It is.
Yeah, that's good advice, because you made a good point to say exercising the muscle, because obviously the more you write, the better you hopefully get at it, right? And
Yeah.
also I would think that another, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but you probably do, is that keep yourself open to suggestions when people give you
Yes.
some kind of suggestions, whether it be editing, something to do with editing, or whether it's
Yeah.
even like a storyline or something, that
Yeah.
you could consider.
Yeah. And that's, I can speak from experience on that. Editing was one of the hardest processes, because, Jeannie and I would send out the manuscript to, editors and to English professors who like knew what they were doing. And when they made like grammatical errors, it would tweak the rhyme almost. And it would be like, what do I want to sacrifice for what? Like, do I want it to be grammatically correct? Or do I want it to be, rhyme and whimsical and fun? And you have to be open to that, because they may suggest something that, even if you don't go with it, might even give you a new idea. I was trying to find one of the lines to put in to the last book, or one of the later pages of the book, and I couldn't find something that fit, that encompassed what I wanted to say there. And I looked over the edits and I was like, I don't want to use that, but this gives me the idea to use that line instead. And I weaved it in and I sent it to Jeannie, and she's like, that's what we're using. That's perfect. It has good meter and it makes grammatical sense. And it's like laid out perfectly. It goes with the rest of the rhyme. It flows well. So be open, definitely be open, but keep your creativity as well. Know when to draw the line and stand your ground, for sure.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because at least in my own experience with, I'm also an author. In fact, I just authored my first book. But with with doing that, and also with writing for a few different publications, people have a different opinion about the styles that they like. And
Yeah.
so depending on who reads your work, some people might say, well, that's amazing. And then others might be finding these small errors and things like that. So it's, I think it's an experience, but take God with you. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, we're
Yes.
people of faith. And so the message of faith is so important in all that we do, especially when you are, as you refer to yourself as a Catholic author, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing very good work. Is there anything else or calls to action or anything regarding your writing that you want our audience to know about right now?
Get involved. Share the word that you're a writer. People are very interested. They love to know writers in their friend group. And I found that out with the advent of social media. I would always post like, here's something that I'm working on, or here's a little ditty. Obviously, I'd put like a copyright at the bottom so that the work wouldn't get stolen, but I would post it so that everybody could read it and kind of gauge like, oh, that's what she's writing about. That's her area of expertise. She's talented in that. And because then they can point you to people that they know. Share it, because writing is meant to be shared with the world. Share your love because it's your passion, and ultimately it will make writing even more satisfying.
Yeah, that it's good. It's satisfying, and also you'll be able to grow. That's my own experience. Don't you think?
That's
You can
true.
grow as a writer no matter what your age,
Yeah,
whether you're a younger person, whether you're middle aged, whether you're old. I mean, whether you're an older person.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
you can still grow and
Yeah.
and convey a beautiful message to others, because that's what I think writing, at least in my belief, that writing isn't just about the words and even the pictures. It's about the message that you're conveying to other people, right?
Yes.
Hopefully through God, right? And so that's beautiful. I think you're doing really, really good work. And so unfortunately now we do have to take a short break, but I will say to our audience here that when we come back from our break, you're going to learn about another facet of Maria Shappert's life, and that's that she is a financial coach. So when we come back, we'll continue to talk about her writing too, but we will also spend some time unpacking and learning about what she's doing that may be able to help you and your families in terms of financial coaching. So we'll be right back here on Journeys in Faith in just a few minutes. Hi, my name is Ann DeSantis, and I'm the director for the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. You can learn about us on our website at nonatus.org. I'm here to tell you today about two great podcasts that I hope that you will tune in. The first Tuesday of every month at 8 o'clock, we have a podcast specifically for Catholics affected by divorce. From 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, go to Philly Nonatus on YouTube to subscribe. In addition, we also have a podcast the last Thursday of every month. That's also at 8 o'clock Eastern Time for 1 hour. And that one is for families in crisis. We have some really great guests coming up soon, so hope to see you then. Please also consider the fact that you can make spiritual direction appointments with us, with our spiritual moderator. All you need to do is go to our website on the contact form and just reach out to us. We'd be happy to hear from you and look forward to setting up an appointment. So we'd love to connect with you. Please share this video and let people know that we're there for families affected by divorce and also families in crisis. Thank you.
Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network present the Discover Your Mission series.
Now, I had been brought up without any prayer, without Bible, without church, nothing of that kind. And so when my father died, I became suicidally depressed. I had no desire to live. And yet, by the grace of God, whenever I got to the point of actually taking my life, I always had this interior conviction that if I took my life, I would simply find it again on the other side, and it would be permanent misery.
But it wasn't until I became a wife and a mother, and I began to try and pass my faith on to my children, that I realized that everything I knew about Jesus was memorized doctrine.
I was a good man, I was a good father, I was instilling the sacraments into my family. I was definitely not intentional. I was stuck rope to my faith.
But what kind of strength did he have? Jackie did not just have a strength of body or baseball skill. He had a strength inside of his spirit, a courageous meekness that empowered him to play the game.
And I tell him what is going on with me, and he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I think this is like some sort of miracle, dude. And he's like, okay, of course, but I'll believe it when I see it. Honey, you've been trying to quit, and you've been saying this and saying that. And his big line to me is, you shouldn't say things because I never follow through on them. And so this was week after week, month after month. He is looking at me like, this is a miracle. There is no way that you, on your own, could have done this.
So we are called to sing. All of us are called to sing. All of us are called to express ourselves and join our voice into the unity of the church. Often with my choirs, I ask them to listen to each other, to listen to the sound that they make together as one. That's what we're aiming for. Through the harmony or unison, we're aiming for a one sound.
You need to decide, what are you going to participate in? Are you going to participate in the historic Christian idea of the altar of sacrifice, which is in the Eucharist, or not?
Hi, welcome back to Journeys in Faith here on this Friday evening. And it's an honor for me to have, again, Maria Shappert. And I announced her at the very beginning of the show that she is an author and also a financial coach. She's the author of the book called Wendy's Wacky Wardrobe. That's a great title, by the way.
Thank you.
And she works with Perpetual Light Publishing. And you can learn about the work of Perpetual Light Publishing and the editor there, Jeannie Goff, by going to, as I said, perpetuallightpublishing.com. Now, Maria also has her Facebook page at Maria Shappert Author. So be sure to check out that page. And last name, Shappert. And I'm sure that the person who is in charge of this network, our friend here, Kent Kolhosky, will be putting up some information about Maria and about Perpetual Light Publishing. Now, Maria, you also said that with your financial coaching, if they go to, it's Fiverr, Be with Maria, Fiverr. So explain to us, what is it that you do with financial coaching? And how, what exactly do you do to help people in that realm?
My absolute favorite thing to do with people when they are in financial trouble is to help them with budgeting, because that's often the first step people need to take in order to get control of their money back. And what I absolutely love is sitting down and making a connection with the client and saying, what do you need help with? Because coaching is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And so I try not to make it as one. And I ask them, well, where do you spend the most money? Where do you spend the least amount of money? What needs to be improved in your life? What goals do you want to work towards? I always love it when they have the dream meeting, because I ask them, in your dream reality, what would come true? What would you have? What would you be doing with your time? And that really gets them to open up, because it expands their mind to this world of possibilities. And I start to see the gears turning, and they get motivated. And that's when I sit down and go, now we'll work on your budget so that you can take the first step in putting away some savings so that it rolls and gets bigger and makes a snowball and you have a nest egg, but also what you should be spending money on now so that your life can improve. There have been so many clients who have told me, what should I pay for my credit card bill or the electricity bill? And I'm like, that's not a good situation to be in. That's the wrong question to ask. So I sit down with them and I go over, how much do you make a year? And this is how much you should be spending towards this and how much you could be paying off towards that. But I inject hope along the way. I say, you're not too far gone, because it's true. Everybody comes to me and they're like, I have made some serious mistakes financially. And I'm like, you're not too far gone. The past is in the past. You are where you are. It's good to start early, but it's never too late to start. And that's what I do with financial coaching. I help them with budgeting. I also help them get out of debt, and also coach them on saving money and how much to invest and put aside. And I teach them, how much they should be spending on a car, how much, how to pay off credit card debt in a way that's feasible. And I mean, these people rack up thousands of dollars. And I'm like, here's a very simple way of fixing it. And, I give them hope along the way, because it's like, you can do this. Like, everybody can do this. And just to watch their eyes glow and the smiles come on their faces, that's what I love about financial coaching most.
Yeah, because you're affecting people's lives, and to my knowledge, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is something for any age. So some people think it's for somebody who's like over the age of, say, 40 or 50, that they should, quote, start thinking about, their financial health and things like that. But isn't it something that when you're in your 20s and 30s that you can start to do?
Absolutely, especially with the advent of like college loans. Like, there's so much debt in college loans. And I started doing Dave Ramsey when I was a kid, really, because one of the first exposures that I had to money training, you don't really get financial training in school unless you take like extra credit, or as what is it called? Not a main course, but I don't remember what it's called. But I learned about financial coaching through a different school who had a program going on called Real Money, Real World. And they had all these booths set up in a gym, and it was like clothing and housing and transportation and food and entertainment, and like everything set up. And we were each given, a life story, a spouse, how many kids we had, what kind of career we had, and what kind of salary we made. And it was a pretty realistic way of seeing how budgeting goes, because you were only given, that monthly amount, and you had to spend it, wisely. And I fell in love with that. And so my parents had started doing Foundations in Personal Finance, I believe is what the program was called. And it was by Dave Ramsey. And it was this several DVD like packet and these worksheets, these workbooks. And I would sit down by the TV and I would just listen, and I would learn about the baby steps of financial freedom, simple things you could do now that'll change your life, like in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. And I got inspired, because one of the things he said was that, you're never too young to start. And he would explain these concepts, like, because I was never any good at math, but he would explain things like investing and saving in terms that I could understand. And that gave me hope. And so I wanted to spread that to other people, because that just inspired me as much as it did.
Yeah, it's very important to think about these things. I mean, some people avoid them throughout their lives. They just kind of buy the things they want to buy and don't really think too much about the long-term effects of that. Would you agree?
True. Yeah, I would say that people generally approach budgeting with like a negative attitude, because they think, a budget, it means I'm going to lose my freedom to spend my money on whatever I want. And, I'm never going to live life to the fullest again. And it's like, that's not true at all. I know from experience, if I don't have a budget, then I'm in fear of where my money goes. I'm worried that I won't have enough to do simple things like pay the grocery bill, or pay my cell phone bill, or take care of the rent. But if I allocate different categories for everything that I need to spend money on, then I will in fact have enough. And it's not even about, what kind of salary you're making. Anybody can do a budget. And it's really, really important to know where your money goes, because many people don't know what they end up spending all their money on until I bring it to their attention, until I make them stop and think about it. And usually it comes in the form of credit card debt or student loan debt or a mortgage they haven't been keeping current with. It could be anything, anything that's hidden. So staying up to date for sure is the biggest piece of advice that I would give.
Yeah, no, that's very important. And especially, as people of faith, part of what we want to do too, I'm sure you yourself, is we want to give back too. There's some people who
Absolutely.
tithe to their churches, or they tithe to some organization or nonprofit. So
That's right.
can you talk a little bit about that too, because that's something that we can't forget, because if we're spending all of our money on, the me stuff, the things that I need and my family needs, then there's not going to be a whole lot of extra money to be able to give to back to my church or back to other nonprofits.
It is important to tithe. Absolutely. That's how you keep different organizations going. That's how you keep your church funded. That's how they're able to afford programs like Catechism for Children or our CIA programs. That's really important. The standard that I've adhered to over the past few years is 10%. But once you start building wealth, you can start increasing that percentage. And so it's all about habits. You start by living a good and prudent and good life from home, and you're a good steward with the gifts that you've been given, but you also give what you can. And then as the habits start building, a good pattern in your life, you can increase that amount to however you want. When your habits are good, you become a greater blessing to those around you because you reap more as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it really is all about those daily habits, isn't it? And
It
also
is.
being able to take a look at it, a real fine tooth look at what's in front of you, and be able to be wise about it, right? To be wise about the direction that you're going in. And when you're married too, it's very important, I think, because the person that you're married to might have a different view on that. But it's good to come together as a couple, as a family, and be able to decide together. Would you agree on
Absolutely.
that?
Yes, because it saddens me to hear that over half of marriages in America end in divorce. And a lot of them are due to money issues. I don't know the statistic on how many are caused by money, but I know it is a very high number. Um, so working together financially, even if you're single, getting an accountability buddy, if nothing else, it will bring the two of you closer because it brings issues in the past out in the open, and it keeps each other honest, and it fosters a deeper level of communication because you feel like you don't have to hide anything from your spouse or your loved one anymore. Because money, we all have secrets. We all have things that we're ashamed of, things that we should not have spent money on in the past. When we bring all of that forward and hide nothing, then we're like, I've done my part, and now we wait. And it's just that back and forth. You have to communicate because that's really the only way issues are going to get solved.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I do want to make a note here, if I could. When people were watching during the commercial break, there was something there about the St. Raymond Donatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. That's where I'm the director. And what we do is we help. Part of our mission is that we offer pastoral accompaniment for those affected by divorce and separation, and mostly families just in crisis in general. But it's good to bring that up because, yes, I mean, I can say, being the director of this foundation for the last over 3 years, that I've learned a lot about that issue that you just mentioned. And yeah, it does play a part in couples, when they're not on the same page in spirituality too, that can also hurt the relationship. But yeah, certainly financial troubles and not being able to come together to really
Yeah,
try to work that out, and have a plan, having some kind of a plan when it comes to your money and where you're putting it and how you're paying your bills, and even savings, right?
yes,
It's very, very important.
absolutely.
Yes. Now, would you be able to offer a few words of advice to anybody watching and thinking, yes, I would like to do something about my finances, but I do want to mention, remember that Maria is a coach. And so you can reach out to her by going to, it's called Fiverr, Fiverr, and you can just Google that. I think there might be an app there too, and look for Be with Maria Shappert. So tell us
Money,
what would,
Money with Maria.
excuse me?
Money with Maria.
Money with Maria. I'm sorry. My apologies.
No,
So
that's okay.
yeah,
And
Money
that's
with
always
Maria.
lowercase. The advice that I would give is it's never too late to start. You have to, when you start deciding, you know, I want to take back control of my money, you can be any age. And any goal that you may have is very well within your reach, what I found out. You have to get the help you need, though, somebody who can walk you through it, show you the steps that you need to work on, praise you for what you're good at. Notice, okay, this is what, you know, you've been really good at. You've been good at, you know, putting this amount for savings, but you need to watch how much you spend on this amount. Somebody to keep you honest. Anybody can do it. And I would just give you motivation. I really, really would. I would say you are within your reach of your goals. And as long as you have the right guide, you are well on your way.
That's good, because people need encouragement when it comes to this. And I will also say that during this last year of the pandemic, there were a lot of people that were affected with jobs and financial situations and things like that. So it might be the perfect time to get in touch with Maria and to learn about the work that she's doing. And as you can see, she is a younger person, but very wise and offering these services for you and your family. Now let's backtrack a little bit, because you are younger, but you've also made your own decision that you want to do good in this whole realm of helping people with financial coaching. How about for somebody who's in your age category? Because, you know, I do think that sometimes when people are below the age of, we'll say 25 or maybe 30, who possibly maybe still even living at home or something, may not understand how these are years that you can really start to build. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, sure. One of the best examples that I can give is the story of Ben and Arthur. And I'm not entirely sure what the final figures are, but it's a story about investing. And let's say that the average investment account, the interest that you get is 12%, because that's like the national average according to Dave Ramsey. So somebody starts investing $200 a month when they're 19. And then that's Ben. And then Arthur starts investing when he's like 25, and he invests $200 a month then. And Ben stops investing when he's 25, but that's when Arthur starts. And he invests all the way up until age like 50. But Arthur does not have as much money as Ben, even though Ben invested less, because it's compounded over time. So time really is your best friend here, because you're going to have, you know, interest on your side, and you'll have, you know, lower interest rate. It's best to start when you're younger. You can start when you're older as well, but if you're my age, this is crucial, because you could end up with millions of dollars in just like being dormant for, like, you invest for like a little bit over the span of a few years, and it'll just grow and grow and grow upon itself. That's what I would say. I'll actually send you the link to the story if you remind me, because then you'll have the actual figures, and the chart is really interesting to look at, because you can see how the money grows on one side, but it just doesn't catch up on the other. It's a really interesting story, and I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I would also say, if you could, would you be able to put that on one of your sites, whether it be your Facebook page, so that people who are watching, who may or may not reach out to me or see it in the notes or whatever, would be able to go to you and see that. Can you post that or repost it on your Facebook page?
Yeah, I think I can. And then
Okay.
if I can't do my Facebook page, then I will do it in my Fiverr gig as well.
Very good. Very good. That's a great thing. So now we're going to have to end here just in a few minutes. Once again, I would ask you to like her Facebook page at Maria Shappert Author. And then the other thing is Fiverr, Fiverr, Money with Maria. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it's all lowercase.
All lowercase. So they're the places. Now, also, if you're interested in Wendy's Wacky Wardrobe, her book, you can simply go to perpetuallightpublishing.com, and our friends there say hello and thank you to Jeannie Goff for sending Maria to us, and also all the other great people who have been a guest with us here on Patchwork Heart Ministry and on, of course, this very network, Fiat Ministry Network. I also want to just take a minute or two to thank our producer, Kent Kolhosky, for doing such a great job as the producer for this network, and just ask you all to not only like the page, but consider supporting. If you go to the Facebook page, there's some information there to support this network. We really do appreciate that. So Maria, thank you so much again.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
God bless everyone, and we'll see you next week here on Journeys in Faith with Ann DeSantis.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Ann DeSantis.